The other one is a not fake nicking, just a bit more original in his name. Ichimaruu sounds a bit oriental. But yeah, I think I'm ready. The players seem to be ready. Scoreboard is ready. Yeah, I managed. First time using this thing and it works. Awesome. That's precisely how I want my programs and software to do. I'm gonna send away ready to the players and we should be underway on Antigua Shipyard. And yeah, as you all know, Antigua Shipyard should be probably is one of the most intense TVT maps you could imagine, probably with force cross spawns. There are a lot of suitable proxy locations. There's this entire aspect of tanks versus tanks controlling the middle and generally being active in the early and mid game, being not aggressive necessarily, but at least taking a good position can reward you immensely. And we're starting the game. We're soon into it, and I am a bit overwhelmed, but here we go. Removing the overlay so we can actually just watch the players right now. And I'm thinking, should the show or the scoreboard be slightly lower? I don't know, we'll have to see. And yeah, as I mentioned before, it is Ichimaruu versus the Muslim. It is, I believe, 0-0 between them right now, and it is a best out of 3. And yeah, I think it's interesting to start off the today's streaming at least with a slightly more slow pace but pretty long and intense matchup such as the TVT. You don't get this far too much. And to begin right away with our introductions, in the top spawn of the map, we have the Muslims, a plural the Muslim I assume, spawning as the blue Terran player, and completely opposite of him, we have his opponent, the red Ichimaruu. Both players, whoa, hang on, we have a, well, I guess it is a Smurf, but he's off racing. I'm sure admins will take care of that. This is not up to me as a caster or anyone else, I guess, to judge, I should say. But Ichimaru is apparently more familiar with the Zerg race, and that definitely does. Well, he seems to be a Masters player. He's just not so good at Terran, and everybody knows Terran is the hardest race to play. Am I right? Yeah. Don't quote me off that. I'm just kidding. Just trying to stir up some balanced discussion. There is absolutely or a slightly positional difference between these two in terms of first supply depot, but that's about it. Neither player seems to be going, as of yet, for anything super aggressive, and we'll probably see whether or not they will do that upon the sort of 13 supply depot mark, which is actually right now. Whether or not they'll actually take a gas. But sorry, that actually doesn't seem to be the case right now. Both players seem to be pretty pacifistic for the first couple of minutes of the game. Not far too bad. Usually in this matchup, which is probably my worst matchup, but I feel at least a bit qualified, to say that usually we see either some gas play or some one rack expand. You might see a bit greedy builds in either direction on this map, but playing eco can be dangerous because this is, well, it is the drop map. It is the map where you drop, and it's the map where positioning is so important because there's so much space to drop. You can hit production facilities from the low ground outside of your opponent's base, and this entire high ground in the middle with the Zelnaga tower completely eliminates the need for Vikings in the early game because you already have the vision if you control the middle, and it makes it so hard to come across your opponent. Of course, you can actually be crossing by the sides, but it is by no means a guarantee you'll make it. And a good player will have good control of either side, of course. We see Ichimaru placing down his expansion slightly later than his opponent, as you can see in the production tab. Not far too much of a difference, and both seem to be going for this relatively, it is a mix, I would say. Going for one racks expand is the general thing to do if you want to combine, eco and the potential for a push or just building units basically, and that is sort of the standard go-to build in actually every matchup, I guess. It is completely legit. We see some control. That is something I would like to see even more often. Just trying to get a bit better vision in the early game. And Ichimaruu does that by putting a marine in the middle Zelnaga tower, or the only Zelnaga tower, I should say. And of course, it would be super fun if both players did that, so we could have a small skirmish going on. Besides that, we have 2 gases taken for the Muslims and 2 already taken for Ichimaruu, even though he's only putting 2 workers in each right now. I'm wondering, no, the Muslim is going for 3 in each, so he is playing a bit more gas intense. That can definitely play a part in the outcome of whatever they do, and you can get a bit of upgrades earlier, a bit of tech earlier, whatever you choose to spend it on. But besides that, the researchers are identical. I was about to say, actually, we're gonna have to see. The tech lab is out earlier for Ichimaruu, and he will naturally get stim earlier if both players go for stim, but that is by no means a guarantee. And here we actually go. We see combat shields being researched for the Muslims instead. Combat shields, well, I'm not gonna say they're better, but in a straight up fight, stim versus combat shield, equal amount of marines, combat shields win. Of course, you lose stuff like speed, and you cannot do a couple of things. Harass, I guess, would technically be better with stim, but a lot of things are better for combat shields, especially the time it takes to research it. So I wouldn't even be surprised if Stimpack just has a window of a couple of seconds to compete with Combat Shield. And as somebody asked, yes, it is a best out of 3, and it is the first game. Of course it is. I forgot we have a scoreboard telling us that. Wow, this thing is so useful. I don't know why I haven't been introduced to this earlier. I'm gonna try to fix its position in between the games, but right now I'm just gonna let it be. And Ishimaru is actually capitalizing on his gas lead, if you so wish, or at least a bit of more total gas taken, by building all tech slightly earlier. And also in terms of, upgrades, basically. I believe he got these reactors. Oh, actually, he has reactors on his barracks, while the Muslim is completely without his, reactor add-ons. He's relying solely on this, 1 marine at the time production. But still, he has accumulated quite a vast marine force, and it just might be enough. Actually, yeah, with combat shield it should really be enough. And this bunker isn't even complete. It actually goes up. Oh wow, I'm not so sure. We see a lot of blue and red marines going down. The reds actually seem to have the advantage. The bunker and the workers do great of them, and there is a total of 13 to 16 armor supply. However, just more and more coming in the favor of Ichimaruu. However, yeah, this attack seems very doomed. Stim actually just goes in and finishes off a lot of CS Marines, and these reinforcements are way too late. And whenever you come even a bit ahead, as Ichimaruu probably suspects he is, you try to capitalize on that. He's moving out while also actually building a third base, and I think that is superb. Double upgrades going down for the Muslim, or the Muslims maybe I should say, which is a bit odd, not something, well, it is not so odd after all. He hasn't wasted far too much of his gas, and I'm a bit interested in how these Marines moving out with slightly less health than full are actually going to compete versus, well, there isn't far too much, but I guess still I would bet that the Muslims probably has enough to hold. And a stim costs a lot in total of net HP for the army, and I think that is utmost, it is a risk at the very least. Ichimaruu hasn't, I believe he hasn't scanned, he's not aware of the production for the Muslims. He doesn't know if there has been gas spent into tanks, if there has been gas spent into, well, upgrades basically very early on. There's a lot of things just speaking blindly for him, and he's actually going to try and move out. He scans and he sees, but I think the total mass of units here should be at least enough by a bit of a margin. Actually, the Sten Marines just demolished, and we see no workers being pulled at all. Everything just dies. The Hellions being focused first made a huge impact, I believe, and these two medevacs will nullify any form of worker-only aggression right now, and he actually snipes a whole ton of workers. And, this third base could be cancelled. I don't think he would be able to deny any bases, but this one, it is cancelled at the very last second, and he doesn't stop here. Permanent stim right now for Ichimaruu, and he seems to be taking a relatively convincing lead right now. He's trading. Oh yeah, the Muslim sees that these workers are by no means enough, and that just concludes the game almost outright for him. Yeah, to blame or to account for that slight, deficit which the Muslims unfortunately managed to produce with that account, or produce with that attack. I think that just killed him in the end. TVTs, well, in any mirror matchup, especially pre-tanks, if you even want to go tanks, in this matchup, of course, you can easily fall behind, and you cannot capitalize, or you cannot try to abuse any strength you have as much as in the other matchups, because basically in a mirror matchup your opponent has the exact same thing, and he has that at hand if he wants to go that. So that, of course, can just completely. No, I think he was taken by surprise a bit, because his CS timing didn't really work out, and in the whole, if you want